Hello and welcome back to another DLC. I'm your host today, Joey Fitz, and today we're stepping into a haunting dreamscape, an eerie and intimate journey crafted in beautiful pixel art. We are talking about Asleep, Act 1 and 2, a 2024 release from Black Hole Games. Now, before I get into the episode, I do want to disclose that we were given a review copy of the game by Black Hole Games and our friends over at Game.Press, so just want to say thank you for that copy. It's time to grab your flashlight and brace yourself, because this one is not for the faint of heart, and that comes with a minor trigger warning for some quite difficult themes in this game. Asleep is a 2D psychological horror point-and-click adventure set in the Brazilian Northeast in the 1990s. You play as Ana Lucia, a young girl lost inside a disturbing dream world. But this isn't a whimsical fantasy. It's a grim, sometimes brutal dive into trauma, identity, and memory. You're not just solving puzzles here, you are surviving Ana Lucia's nightmare. So let's break this down. Starting with the gameplay. On the surface, it might look like a traditional point and click. You explore environments, collect clues, interact with objects, but there's so much more than that under the hood. The core mechanic revolves around your flashlight. It's both your guide through the game and your only defense. Monsters that you encounter will react in different ways to seeing the light. Some freeze, some flee, and some seem aggravated by the light and it makes them worse. You're forced to think before you act. Do you shine the light before you know what you're walking into and risk alerting something else? Or do you stay in the dark and let Anna's mind unravel? Sanity plays a quiet but very important role. Stay in the shadows for too long, and things start to change. The environment warps, audio shifts, your perception becomes unreliable. It's not just jump scares, it's tension, and it rises steadily. Asleep Acts 1 and 2 are built in a beautifully stylized pixel art. I don't want to fool you into thinking that it looks simple. There's a richness to the visuals that evolve as you progress through the story. Environments start grounded and fairly familiar, whether that's weathered streets, forests, gritty school halls, but as Anna sinks deeper into her mind, the lines blur, and nightmares bleed into reality. It's jarring, but it looks excellent, and it's jarring in all of the right ways. Animation is sparse but incredibly fluid. It's almost dreamlike, and the use of light and colour here is deliberate and works excellently. Cool blues, sticky reds guide through your emotional response, and the contrast between the innocence of the art style and the maturity of the themes is what makes this horror even harder to get through. Now let's talk about the sound design. The soundscapes are thick. Whispers, muffled cries, the hum and flickering of lights. There's not loads of music, but that's by design. The best way to describe it is to say that the silence in Asleep feels loud. When the music does enter the space, it's often distorted or incomplete, and this really throws you off the game. It's like a song half remembered in a dream. You'll find yourself listening closely, but not to enjoy the soundscape, to survive. Was that a breath you heard? Was it Anna's, or was it something else in the room?
Listen to casting views.
The sound design of these games is something that holds it head and shoulders above other very similar games. Narratively, Asleep is rich and unapologetically dark. The game explores mental illness, trauma, bullying, and even suicidal intention. But it does so with care, and it's not done for shock value. Everything feels grounded in Ana Lucia's personal reality. Her sketchbook becomes your guide, and it's a deep, fragmented map of her inner world, scribbled with clues, memories, and her fears. The way that the story unfolds is very subtle. This encourages players to piece things together. You're absolutely not spoon-fed answers. There are moments of surrealism, symbolism, and choice. And even though it's just the first two acts in a larger saga, it tells a complete and emotionally resonant story. Within Asleep, the game itself takes its time. Some players might expect more traditional horror rhythms, constant chase scenes, or combat, but that's not what this game is about. It uses that silence that I spoke about earlier to build dread. It uses this dread rather than speed. Exploration and puzzle solving are at the game's core, and the tension builds not from what you see, but what you think you might see. The puzzles themselves are thoughtfully integrated within the game. They don't feel tacked on, and I think this is something that can be a bugbear for a lot of people with survival horror or point and click games. They reflect Anna's mental state. Some require logic, some require memory. Now, a quick note on that difficulty. Asleep is not an easy game. Not because the puzzles are overly complex, but because the emotional intensity and the need for patience can really wear on you. I think it's part of the point. The game wants to make you feel discomfort, not just witness it. And it succeeds, and this isn't always a good thing. So what's the verdict on Asleep? Asleep is a great game by Black Hole Games. It's immersive, disturbing, and artful. It's psychological horror that isn't afraid to ask tough questions or sit in an uncomfortable space. It's visually arresting, sonically haunting, and narratively very deep, but it's not for everyone. If you appreciate a horror game that lingers, that sticks with you for a long time after the credits roll, this game's really good. And with more Axe Ts, it feels like the beginning of something really special. If you find puzzles in these games challenging or overly complex, you might find the same here. I know I said before that the puzzles weren't overly complex, but I meant mechanically. Sometimes I feel like you're trying to put 2 and 2 together to get 4, but actually you're getting 5, 6, 7, or egg. The puzzles themselves, in places, feel like they were added to ramp up the difficulty. And like I said, in ways it does benefit the game. It makes you feel like you are one with Anna, but it doesn't always lead to a good gameplay experience. Thank you for joining me on this episode of DLC. If you like what you heard and fancy giving Asleep a go, Acts 1 and 2 are both out now on Steam. I've been Joey Fitz. Thanks for stopping by. Have a great day.